Astronomy according to Mormons? Oh, this ought to be good. It's the Young Atheist Show. Yeah. Welcome one and all, from the godless to the God-fearing, to the Young Atheist Show. I am your lovely host, Bethany Anderson, the Young Atheist, and you heard right. Today we are going to talk about the Mormon planet star thing of Kolob and what it means to Mormon doctrine. Now, from being raised in the church, I already knew a little bit about Kolob, but relearning about it through not only the eyes of an infidel, but those of an amateur astronomer, was really a blast. Alright, so in 1835, Joseph Smith, the first prophet of Mormonism, came out with the Book of Abraham. It was his translation of a papyrus scroll that he bought from a traveling mummy exhibition. In Smith's own words, it was a translation of some ancient records purporting to be the writings of Abraham while he was in Egypt, called the Book of Abraham, written by his own hand upon papyrus. So according to Joseph Smith, these scrolls had details about Abraham's life. Some of these details can be cross-referenced to things that happened in the Bible, but a lot of this is just standalone things that you can't find in any other source of doctrine. It also happens to be where Mormons get a lot of their ideas about Kolob and other celestial bodies. So, now that we know where to look, we can answer the question of what exactly a star is in Mormonism. Now, a lot of people know that Mormons read the Book of Mormon or Mormon Bible, but there are quite a few other pieces of literature that they consider their core doctrine. Among these is the Doctrine and Covenants, which is writings and revelations primarily written by Joseph Smith, taken from the early church history. This is another place that we're going to find our primary sources as far as Mormon astronomical stuff goes. Now, in the 130th chapter, it starts by talking about the particular star that God lives on, saying that it is a globe like a sea of glass and fire, where all things for their glory are manifest, past, present, and future, and are continually before the Lord. So it's like a glass sphere that's very, very bright, where because time is all happening at the same time for them, it's as if time isn't happening at all. Like, wrap your head around that. It's like this one episode of Doctor Who. But anyway, that's not doctrine. They go on to say that that's what all stars are. They're like glass balls that are in the sky and that are extremely bright. They're also planets. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call them stars, but the way the Mormons see them is like godly planets. As a matter of fact, it is believed that planets like Earth or Mars are actually going to become stars at some point through a process called celestialization, or being celestialized. They kind of are brought to a higher order and are perfected to be these great balls of glass that are just extremely bright. The same way that people live on Earth now is how higher beings like God and angels live on these celestialized planets. Basically, there are people living on stars. I find myself lucky enough to have a quote on this very topic from the Mormon prophet that followed Joseph Smith. His name was Brigham Young, and he said this in a very public address to the people of the church. This is what he said. So it is with regard to the inhabitants of the sun. Do you think it is inhabited? I rather think it so. Do you think there is any life there? No question of it. It was not made in vain. It was made to give light to those who dwell upon it, and to other planets, and so will this earth when it is celestialized. And that isn't the only piece of Mormon doctrine that cites life on other planets. As a matter of fact, if you're a youth raised in the church, they really emphasize that there are in fact other worlds which God's grace has touched. This just in. Life on Mars confirmed by Mormon religious leaders and David Bowie. Anyway, so Kolob as one of these star-planet thingies is particularly important among the star-planet thingies, seeing how it is the star-planet thingy that is closest to the star-planet thingy on which God lives. This is cited many times in the Doctrine and Covenants and in Abraham, as I mentioned earlier. The relationship between Kolob and the star where God lives is pretty important. The star on which God lives is supposed to revolve around Kolob in such a way that one day on the star on which God lives is supposed to be 1,000 years here on Earth. That causes a lot of people to start making theories about the length of time it took to create Earth as it is written in the Bible, because it says 7 days. But a lot of Mormons tend to come to a consensus that the 7 days are in the godly measure of time that can be observed when you are on the star on which God lives. So, rather than being 7 days, it would be 7 Kolob days, which would be about 7,000 years, which is a little bit longer to take to create everything and have man walking on Earth, but it smells just a little bit too much like young Earth theory, if you ask me. So that's all I have to say about Kolob today. But if you guys have any more questions, you can go ahead and put them in comments, and I'll answer them as best I can. Kolob could be a really, really big subject, and there's a lot of stuff that I just couldn't fit in. But if I notice enough of a demand, I might just put it in a future video. So, until then, see you guys next time.